Truckers of Reddit, since you have a height advantage over mostly everyone on the road, what was the weirdest thing you have seen someone doing in their car? Saw a dude getting roadhead while I was driving a military truck. He was casual as frick about it too. Both hands on the steering wheel, eyes forward, and was a very good driver. I saw the guy ripping a 4-foot bong that was in the passenger seat with one foot on his driver's side mirror. Oh crap, please tell me this wasn't Anla. I saw 3 unwarranted dongs in 1 month, all in pickups, 2 of the dudes making active eye contact, 2 active roadhead situations, 1 woman completely naked on her back laying across the center console of a pickup truck, man was driving, 1 clothed woman in a similar position with the man's hand under her tank top playing with her boobs, 2 women making out in the back seat while guy drove. I took an informal visual survey and discovered women in cars by themselves really tend to let their legs spread out. Oh, and 1 woman with her hand under her skirt looking like she was trying to knock out Mike Tyson. I saw 3 unwarranted dongs in 1 month. Totally read that as mouth the first couple of times. I once saw a guy with his leg propped on the dash, vigorously masturbating. He actually gave me a goddamn thumbs up. Why me? Masturbating. On the flip side of this, when I was 5 I was eating licorice in the back seat of the car and a truck driver witnessed me put both sticks up my nose. As a trucker, I've seen stuff that can't be unseen. Some of the things I've witnessed: a guy ramming his fingers into his forehead repeatedly while driving, a guy playing a fiddle while driving, 2 women making out in the passenger seat while the man driving copped a feel, a guy playing on a laptop while driving, a cop, as well as countless others, texting and driving, a fellow trucker reading a book while driving, a fellow trucker driving with a sandwich in one hand, cell phone in the other while driving with his elbows. Saw a guy playing a trumpet. I was on a bus once and saw a woman finger knitting while driving. Not sure if that's a euphemism or not. Not a trucker, but I saw some guy smoking a hookah on the highway. It was fully set up on the passenger side, left hand on the steering wheel, right hand on the tongs flipping those little pieces of coal. Imagine getting in a wreck. The surprise would be what catches on fire from the charcoal. I've been caught more than once taking my bra off at a stoplight, but the need to release the beast significantly outweighs my crushing self-consciousness. I'm not a trucker, but once on the motorway a car kept hanging back from me and then overtaking, and each time it overtook, the person in the passenger seat was wearing a different mask and staring at me. Masks that I remember include anonymous Guy Fawkes style, clown complete with rainbow afro, horror bunny, scream whilst holding a knife, unsure if real or fake, inbred hillbilly style horror mask, and some sort of chubby baby. When I was working as a cop, I investigated a minor accident where the guy who was driving was not hurt, but his GF had bumped the back of her head on the steering wheel. Only her hand must have been on the stick. No longer a trucker, but once when I was doing day trips I looked down and the guy in the car next to me was jerking his gherkin. Was driving from California to Seattle. Took me over 15 hours. For sure had a high speed ejaculation. Obligatory not a trucker, dead stopped in traffic one night on the BQE, Brooklyn Queens Expressway. There was a guy in the Centerland with his feet out the window, playing a guitar. He was taking requests from the cars around him, made an annoying situation fun and memorable. MWF, it's nicer to be stuck in traffic on the BQE because then you don't hit the potholes as fast. Saw a guy driving with his front hood all the way up. Sigh, not a trucker, but once watched a livery driver pass me one night on the NJ Turnpike, watching a small DVD player attached to the steering wheel. Of course it was on the fricking turnpike. Source: I'm from NJ. At 26 feet straight truck in stop and go traffic in Maryland, I think, in 2008, saw a middle-aged guy in a Toyota Corolla in typical office attire put down about 10 Milwaukee Ices in about 10 minutes. He must have been just opening his throat and pouring them into his stomach, because it seemed like he didn't even swallow. I can only imagine what kind of domestic hack he was heading home to. Now that's just normal if you have to drive on 95 or the BW Parkway at all. seen a few people doing makeup before, but the one that takes the cake for me was this one bloke who pulled up to a set of lights next to me eating a bowl of cereal, milk and everything. Not a trucker, but used to do deliveries for a junkyard. Spent hours on the road. People eating breakfast cereal. Full on bowl with milk. Lots of readers. Guy with a portable office that I swear never once looked where his car was going. Suspected motorbaters male and female. But the absolute strangest. Dude shaving. With a straight razor. Had a brush and cup as well. That takes some freaking balls. Also once saw a woman shaving her legs, but that was with a disposable and I'm assuming lotion. Not a trucker, but many years ago on our way to a concert I sat in the backseat of a car with my GF and her best friend. When we were close to passing trucks by, they would each take turns bobbing up and down as if to simulate that I was receiving gratification while the other would kiss up on my neck. We got many truckers to blow their horn and give thumbs up along the way. I'm not a trucker, but I have seen some stuff when out riding horses, as you are able to look down into the cars. The most memorable was when I was out riding down the lanes. Narrow, single track road with passing places which you should drive more slowly and cautiously down as you don't know what is around the corner, with a friend. A car drove past and the driver had his trousers pulled down to his knees and was very busy pleasuring himself. He drove back past us 5 minutes later, this time dressed. Never understood why he pulled his trousers to his knees instead of just unzipping. Sometimes the zip can rub great on your skin. Someone doing a McDonald's burger. McChicken 2, the return of the Wonkaning. In Pittsburgh, right next to where the Pens play, I saw a dude just cruising naked as his name say. Also, down in Kentucky, I was pulling out of a truck stop with an attached McDonald's and saw a guy driving and finger blasting his old lady in the passenger seat. They were pulling into the McDonald's. PPG Paints, formerly known as the Console Energy Center. I was on the bus today and I looked down at the vehicle beside us, which was a grungy old pickup truck. The passenger had one of those wooden boxes that holds the fancy silverware in his lap and was polishing a spoon as they cruised down the road. Not the weirdest, I'm sure, but I found it comical nonetheless. Not a trucker, but on a bus ride during high school football we saw a guy getting roadhead. He gave us a thumbs up. Orgy in a van. That's just bangbrous. People jerking it and committing horrific acts of indifference to highway safety. As someone who drives a manual, these all seem even more horrifying than they already are. Not a trucker, but I drive a tall regular truck. Have seen a lady eating a Big Mac, putting on makeup, and on a laptop at the same time while driving. She was doing around 65. I was doing around 57 and trying to merge over into her lane. She was weaving erratically. Also once caught a whiff of and could see 4 teenagers, college kids in a rice rocket car whom apparently smoked so much pot it was pouring out of the windows. One was puffing on the joint as the car sped away, running across lanes going in the opposite direction and hitting a trash can. Oh, the things you see at night. In true Reddit tradition, I am not a trucker and am on the flip side of this. I once looked up into a trucker's cab and saw him reading a full-on book. I was the passenger, so I watched him for 3 songs on the radio and never once saw him look up. I knew a guy who is a trucker and he told me that his truck practically drives itself. He said he doesn't do anything distracting though. The truck isn't his. 30-year driver, and 2 stick out. First was a lady whose shape is best described as round, except her titties, those were pancakes. She had her shirt pulled up and was rolling her nipples between her fingers. Then there's the Canadian and the Geep. I'm still not sure where the rest of the mule was hidden, but it must have been in there somewhere. His hand almost hit his chin on the upstroke. People want to assume these stories of public masturbation, nudity and adult misadventures all feature attractive people, but they don't. They really don't. Not a trucker, but driving on the highway, saw a woman driving with both her hands under the top bar of the steering wheel, above the center where the horn is, her elbows bent up and gripping the steering wheel this way. Essentially, imagine yourself driving while trying to do a pull-up with the top of the steering wheel, less than 45 degrees to give if you need to make a turn. I do that sometimes. Dunno why, just changing things up I guess. To the trucker who I know caught me giving my boyfriend roadhead, you're welcome for the show. Unless you had your top off, all he got was a nice view of the dong. Once a trucker held up a sign for me that said best legs in Texas as I drove from Houston to Austin. What kind of haircut did he have? People masturbating, packing a bowl, using an iPad on the steering wheel, and one guy literally had the morning newspaper folded out entirely in front of him while doing 70 in the morning rush hour. But mostly cell phones. Stupid. Freaking cell phones. Apparently a lot of people get roadhead, which, in of itself, isn't that weird or interesting. I wanna hear about the guys who are shaving giraffes in their backseat, or trying to cross international borders with 16 kilograms of turtles in their trunk. Come on, lads and ladettes, lift your weirdness game. Not a trucker, but my old 4x4 E350's hood is about the same height as a minivan's roof. At a stoplight I noticed about 12 cats loose in the back of a 90s book wagon with no rear seats, and a 40-year-old woman driving. Was waiting for dispatch to let me know where the rig was next to the road a little bit higher than the actual road. A helper blowing the driver of a tanker truck. Very macho Hispanic guys with tattoos and crap. I knew them, never said a word. Common never said a word. A true hero. Many years ago, I dated a trucker, and it was a pretty intense romance. Didn't last long because, well, trucker, right? He would take me on short road trips, that's how we spent a lot of our dates. Just talking and listening to music. He introduced me to a lot of the 80s rock I still listen to now. I remember him singing along to What's Up Crazy Man. He told me, you would be amazed at how many people drive without pants on, or in their PJs. That was a fun summer. Date a local driver, they come home every night. Saw a woman cutting shapes out of paper while driving. Super safe. SHHH. You're not supposed to point that out, otherwise nobody would get roadhead. Hottest, gorgeous girl on I-64 flicking the bean. Skirt hiked up. She saw me looking, smiled, and took the next exit. She caught up to me about 30 minutes later, still strumming. This time she flashed me after she hovered a few minutes. Strangest is actually another truck driver. She had her legs on the dash, bowl of popcorn in her lap, watching a movie on a little 13 inches TV. National Truck Driver Appreciation Week is the 9th of October 2017, the 17th of September 2017. Ladies, the girl was trying to hook up with you. She was likely hoping that you would take the exit she took. My friend went on a ride with his dad when he was young and seen a man jerking off. Almost 10 years ago I was traveling down a decently busy interstate in the northern part of Idaho. Can't remember the load, only that I was doing good time and debating where to settle for the night. I saw a truck stop with a few trucks already parked and pulled in. Parking lot was pretty dang big. Found a nice spot behind the building and far away from the highway. Nice and quiet. Also hidden from passing cars. Wasn't worried first though. I'm a big enough dude. Not some scary combat trained one, but I can hold my own. Dozed off quickly. Had been driving for 10 hours straight. Woke up sometime later. Half noticed a car parked next to mine. Confused me why someone would park so close like that. I half peeked down to see who it was. Try to stay with me here, it gets a little weird. There was a money in the driver's seat. Ape maybe? The most human-like one. Cute little guy though, he rolled the windows down and waved at me. Okay, I'm obviously dreaming. Cool lucid dream crap, wonder if I can fly. No, I'm %100 awake. It's 4 AM. There's a monkey in the car next to me, and I have to pee. I get out, kinda peek around. No one but the monkey. No keys either. It was a crank window, so he literally rolled it down. Okay, so his owner's inside. I go in the only place open. Thankfully the bathroom's vending area. No one there. Pee. Snacks. Holy crap, there's still a monkey outside. Run out. Monkey's okay. There's now a penguin in the back seat. Okay then. I'm just going to get in my truck. They just kind of hung out. The monkey had a cooler of snacks for both of them, bananas and raw fish. I ended up going back in and getting them a few bottles of water. Monkey knew how to open them and helped the penguin drink and play in some. By this time it was 5 AM, and I had started calling the monkey Einstein and the penguin Puffy. The morning rush would start soon, so I called the non-emergency line. The operator told me they knew, and that Jimmy and James lived there. She said she didn't know why. They had just always been there. Random people get them food and ice for the cooler. They hang out in the visitor center during the day, and go to the local zoo if the temperature gets too extreme for either. Einstein must have found the spare keys again. They'd send someone out to find them. I stopped again a few months later and they were still there, but not a year or so after that. No one I asked knew what I was talking about once they were gone, and I never found a zoo within 100 miles of there. I've seen a few guys jacking off while driving. Women applying makeup while texting. It's pretty amazing really. And lots of women with their skirts pulled up, exposing their panty, or lack of. My all-time favorite, while not in their car, was a couple all the way going at it doggy style on the beach, like 30 feet from the highway. It was a clear warm day, probably around 2 in the afternoon. Went at it long enough that I had time to pull off the road, double back, and pull out my binoculars in time to see him finish pumping and her to stand up and pull up her panties. I was probably one of those women with the skirt hiked up. I was going to a job interview and didn't want to sweat on it. I've seen people giving BJs to full on fricking in the back seat. Seen an older lady doing a crossword while driving. I've seen someone get kicked out of a car at a red light. But the weirdest has to be an old guy driving his car naked while masturbating. Wasn't in a truck but to a bus. Some guy was jacking off while keeping speed with a bus. It didn't register at first, but when I realized what he was doing, I just sat there with my mouth agape. He must have seen my face because he pulled away and got off the next exit. No more window seats for me. Got off the next exit? I sure hope so. Think of the hottest girl you've ever seen. Maybe even a girl you've had a crush on for an eternity, but she's so insanely hot she's out of your league. Even out of Brad Pitt's league. Well, guess what, my friend? This 10/10 drop dead gorgeous dream girl takes her finger, shoves it to the back of her nose and pulls out boogers that resemble John Goodman, and then decides, I haven't eaten today, and proceeds to rip it apart like prey to a velociraptor. Not really weird, just something I see constantly. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.